Okay, today, bringing you something a little different. I want to talk about reading self-help books versus reading philosophy books. And, to put it very simply, they're very similar, but some will give you more watered down information, some will be more complex, and it's just really evaluating the source. And I think there's great books in both categories, and I think there's bad books in both categories. So maybe I'll give you a few suggestions at the end, but I just want to start off by saying that most of self-help is just watered down psychology, watered down philosophy, and that's not really a bad thing. If you are new to these ideas, it might be helpful and useful to see it broken down in a very simple and very easy method. Like, a lot of people miss what meditation is about. A lot of people miss what Letters from a Stoic is about. A lot of people miss what Thus Spoke Zarathustra is about. So why don't you have these ideas in a very simple, very digestible, and something that you'll get on first reading? And that's really the benefit of self-help books. That's really what they're good for. But there's also a downfall because a lot of them are gimmicky. A lot of them are like, follow this system and you will be a success. The truth is, I don't think there's one set way. I don't think if you follow this way versus this way, like one way is going to be more successful. You got to find your own path. You got to find your own way of doing things. And if someone inspires you by, you doing their system and it works, perfect. But I don't want you to be limited to this or that or this. Like, we're all going to find our own way. We're all going to make it in our own way. And I want you to embrace that personal journey. So I think that's the one caveat I would give with generic self-help books is like, they're going to overpromise. They're going to say you can do tremendous things, but the truth is, like, maybe it works for you, but it probably won't. I've read hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of self-help books, and I'm not a success yet. So if that's any indication of where it's going to get you, it might improve your mindset. It might improve the way you frame things, but overall, I don't think it's going to give you exactly what it promises. And that's the one thing I'll say about them. When we talk about philosophy is a very, very fun subject because it can range from like a mystical sort of philosophy with Emerson to like a very atheistic worldview with like Nietzsche. But I think generally most philosophers are pretty uplifting. There's some that are depressing taken in certain contexts. I know I just talked about Nietzsche. Some of Nietzsche's earlier works have some very inspiring ideas like eternal recurrence, like the will to power, like certain things like that, the idea of the Übermensch. These are all pretty inspiring ideas, but he's also one of the most negative people you'll meet, and he basically went crazy and lived in despair for a large period of his life. So that's just going to shade some of his philosophy. That's going to shade some of his works. But the thing I would say about philosophy is a lot of people get really, really rigid on a certain belief system. Like nowadays, the craze is Stoicism. The craze is reading meditations. Just by chance, I had it right next to me. But like everyone reads this book and treats it like it's the Bible, like it's the end-all be-all with philosophy. I think when you're reading philosophy, what you want to do is spread it around. You want to read the works of Marcus Aurelius. You want to read Epictetus, I think that's how you say it. You want to read Seneca. Like, I would start reading a bunch of different philosophers. I wouldn't confine yourself to one set belief system because every single system is rigid in its methods. And I think the only way forward, the only way to happiness, the only way to becoming a very successful individual is finding your true self, finding who you really want to be. And that's not going to come through following an ancient belief system. That's not going to come through rigidly adhering to a singular person's belief system that led them to success. What's going to lead you to success is finding out who you are, finding out what you want to do, and then running with that. Finding the thing that's going to get you up out of bed day after day after day, and you're going to do it, and it's going to make you happy. That is the ultimate success. Like, to me, success is not, I make this amount of money. I do this, I do that, I have this title, I have millions and millions of followers, I have millions and millions of subscribers. Like, none of that is success to me. Success is being able to do the things I want to do each day and loving every moment of it. Like, that is a good life. Doing something because you want to do it. I think Earl Nightingale said it best. The success is a person that is a teacher because they want to be a teacher, a doctor because they want to be a doctor. Like, don't let anyone else dictate your success, and you're a success. With that said, I'll start giving you a few suggestions because I feel like I really got my points across. Again, you're going to find some really good books in philosophy. You're going to find some really good books in self-help. These are going to be a few off the top of my head that I really, really suggest. The first one for self-help is Psycho-Cybernetics. basically, there's a doctor. He was a plastic surgeon, and he basically found that the physical alterations weren't the best part of his surgeries. It was the mental changes. It was how people started assuming themselves that, like, oh, now that I'm more attractive, people are going to give me this. And basically these people went from mediocre salesmen who were always thinking about how big their nose was to closing the deal every time because they had a new sense of self, because they believed themselves to be better simply because they were more attractive. And simply changing the words that you use to describe yourself can do so much to your world. Like, think of walking into a room and being very shy, being very passive, having very bad posture. People are just inherently not going to treat what you say with as much conviction. They're not going to be as serious when you start speaking. They're going to pay attention. They're going to doze off. Whereas if you're confident, if you're assertive, if your body language is really, really on point, people are just going to give you the benefit of the doubt. And, it's so unfortunate because so many people have negative images of themselves. So many people think so poorly of themselves, and it's a book that's going to help you start changing that. Another book that I really think everyone should read is How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's the end-all be-all when it comes to communication skills. It's going to teach you really just basic stuff, but the basic stuff goes so far. Like, one of my favorite parts of the book is using someone's name. Think about it. Your favorite word in the English dictionary is your name. Maybe your name's not in the dictionary, but again, your favorite word is literally your name, because every time you hear it, you associate it with yourself. So when you say someone's name in conversation, it immediately associates positive feelings with them. And it's like, people, like, I had someone tell me that that's manipulative, but it's like, don't you just want people to like you? Don't you just want people to be happy when speaking to you? And if you could just in some way earn favor, in some way have people hear you out and hear you out in a way that doesn't upset them, like, that's the way forward. Like, there's another part of the book that says never argue. What good comes from arguing? Even if you win the argument, now that person harbors resentment against you. And it's always better to show better than tell. Like, if someone did something wrong, why don't you show them the method that you do and be like, I wonder why you did it this way. This is the way I do it. That's a tremendous way to just avoid conflict. A tremendous way to save time and make your worker more efficient. But so many people just want to yell at people. So many people want to point the finger and blame others. And I think this book does a really good job of framing things in a positive way and framing in it a way that people can move forward and really run with it. You have other books like Think and Grow Rich. You have other books, Earl Nightingale, The Strangest Secret, Transformational Living, all really good books. But I really think those two are really going to take you a lot of the way, and everything else kind of just fluff. Don't get me wrong, like, a lot of self-help books are just going to help you become a little more positive. Maybe you don't take anything away from it aside from just a positive mental attitude, and that's an amazing thing, so just run with that. In terms of philosophy, you can't really go wrong with meditations, but to me, I think Letters from a Stoic is just a better work because this book wasn't intended to be a book. It's more of like Marcus Aurelius ensuring that he lives by this set, rigid belief system and that he constantly checks himself. And I think that's good in certain elements, but Seneca is basically like the greatest old man advice ever. Like, it's basically like you talking to your grandpa with the wisdom, and it just has a certain element to me of like, it's more convincing. It's more expressive. Some of the coolest ideas that I got from that was like, Seneca was basically saying, like, I'm in old age now, and now that I'm in old age, I have to face that my physical capabilities aren't what they used to be. But in this period, I'm really going to embrace my mental faculties, because now I don't have my physical ability to rely on. Now I have to rely on my mind, and my mind is going to grow so much. And my death is coming soon, so that every single day that I grow older, my time gets more and more valuable because I have to appreciate it more and more. Think about when people are on their deathbed. Like, when someone on your deathbed tells you that they love you, it means so much more than the other times that you've heard it, because in their final breath they told you this. In their final breath they told you how much they mean to you. Like, I will always cherish every time I remember these memories of people that were soon to die telling me how much they cared about me. You know what I mean? It's just a beautiful way of framing things, and I think Seneca does not get his due when it comes to this. Another one would be Emerson's essays. Dude, you don't need to read any other philosophy if you just read this book. Like, I'm telling you, this is tremendous, tremendous, tremendous. The last one I would really urge you to read is The Gay Science by Friedrich Nietzsche. This book, literally, I don't know what to say about it aside from this is a masterpiece. This is probably my favorite book by Nietzsche, and it's more of a positive side than Nietzsche because the title is not really accurate for today because the word has kind of changed. It really should be called The Joyous Science because I think it's just a better translation from the original. It's the happy science. Think about it like that. Like, it's Nietzsche teaching you how to reframe things in your life to be happy. It's the idea of the eternal recurrence, the idea of the Übermensch, the idea that you are destined to relive your life and live in the manner that you have to live your life again and again and again. Live in a way that you would be happy to live repeated again and again and again. Think about it like that. Like, if you wake up every single day and you live your life as if you had to relive it, would you do the same things? Would you be so bored day in, day out? Would you, waste so much time? Or would you put your time into things that made you happy? Would you put your time into things that weren't just short-term gratification, were, embracing certain elements about yourself and really expressing them? Like, think of how many people want to do something, but they're so petrified because of whatever society will say, or they're just afraid because they might fail. Like, why don't you just take the first step today? The first step is always the hardest one. Why don't you take the first step? Why don't you embrace it? Why don't you say, I'm at least going to sign up today. I'm at least going to take that first step into the gym. I'm at least going to do the trial class if it's, your biggest fear is training jiu-jitsu. Whatever it is, take the first step today. Take the first step to doing what it is that you've always wanted to do, because you might not have the chance. You might not have the opportunity tomorrow. I love you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. Please consider picking up any of these books, and if you want any more suggestions, feel free to ask me in the comments. I love you guys. Peace out. I'll catch you next one.